Hello, Metaverse of Gaming. Welcome back to Let's Go Around. I'm not particularly enthusiastic right now because the software that we used to record was not working at all. So, unfortunately, because of that, you guys miss about 29 minutes of gold. So, to help share in my disappointment, we have Resident Raccoon AJ.
I feel like I don't even know how to introduce myself again.
And then, of course, we have a man who does sound even more or less energetic now because of the situation, StarWin.
At least we didn't get into the meat of the podcast yet.
Yeah,
We
thank
just
God
scratched the
we did not
surface.
get into the meat of that.
Could have been a
And
fucking
of
hour
course,
later.
yeah. Oh God, I think I would have probably just hanged myself after that.
It's funny because sometimes I just stop looking at the screen. Like sometimes I'm just kind of like on my phone, or like I'll just start like wandering off. And
I think we're gonna need you to just keep your eyes glued on that. At
yeah,
this
now I'm like
point.
today for some reason I was just really watching Streamlabs. Oh my god.
Did it happen again?
No, I said
Oh,
Streamlabs.
thank God. Oh, well, now you know. So if you got complaints, tweet at them.
Yo, Streamlabs, what's up with your default audio output settings?
You're like, hey, I missed 29 minutes of gold from Metaverse of Gaming's Let's Go Around. Thanks, Streamlabs.
You gonna tweet
What did
back
we
like you
speak
dumb.
about Zero in this
Oh yeah, by the
29
way, I'm your
minutes?
host, Zero. We basically talked about what we did over the weekend, but the major thing I want to point out towards everyone is E3 will be happening next week, starting on the 8th, I believe. No, on the 7th. E3 will be happening. We are going to do our best to get a lot of content and a lot of videos out, so be looking for short videos and reactions, all that stuff from us. We're going to try our best to put as much stuff out for you guys, so definitely make sure you are subscribed. You have the notification bell on. That way you can get all up-to-date news with us. And also let us know what you're really looking forward to, and if there's an event that we should probably be covering. So please put in the comments. We'll do our best to cover it. And also, what are you predicting? What are you excited for? What are you hoping you get to see? Trailers, gameplay, etc. Let us know in the comments or even tweet at us. We'll put out the tweets later. But let's dive into the meat of all of this. Innovative games in gaming, what helped progress, what made you fall in love with it, and what helped the industry really just exceed and just go out there and become what it is today, this billion-dollar industry that's almost like an unstoppable giant. So top five, we each have our own. These are the ones that we picked. We believe that
Yes.
are innovative. This is no definitive list. This is nothing that we saw on Clickbait Central or anything like that. This is in our own words, our opinion. So if you
Yeah,
don't agree with us, let us know in the comments.
that's
Be
your
like, hey,
opinion.
I don't agree with this, and we'll just tell you, hey, make your own list. That's all.
Also, before we jump into the meat of it again, what did we ran through basically like what you guys missed. We had a casual fucking conversation about SMT and Persona. Had a
Yeah,
pretty
yes.
good story for it too, and then and
Also, a good
we
in-depth conversation about Fire Emblem as well.
yes, a very big in-depth conversation about Fire Emblem, which is what StarWind is playing again. And then we started For Honor. We're playing a lot of For Honor. In case you didn't, if you saw the last episode of the podcast, that was the gameplay for it. Yeah, playing a lot of that.
So,
well, let's go Zero.
yeah,
You got
I
number
mean,
5.
these guys already know what it is, so
Yeah.
don't be too surprised if they're not like shocked or anything. But my number 5, the way we're gonna do this, we're gonna go each one of us are number 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we'll discuss debate. My number 5 is actually Players Unknown Battleground PUBG, as you better well known it. Reason why I chose this is because this is the game that started the whole battle royale craze. A lot of people think it's Fortnite. Fortnite helped popularize it. Fortnite copied this, created their own version of it, and put it out there, and it became so much more and so much bigger. But I chose PUBG because I was very excited for this. There was nothing like this up to date or scale at the time, where you have so many players on an island, and let alone start off with nothing. You're basically a newborn child, even like literally, you were completely naked unless you were wearing boxers or something like that, and you had to go find guns, armor, and it was just really something. And I wanted to play it so badly that I bought the Xbox version because I didn't have a PC. And spoiler alert, the Xbox version back then sucked ass. It was buggy as hell. It was a mess. But I do have to give them credit. The developers for this really helped start out a craze, and they even helped create or inspire battle royale game that I really love, and that's Apex Legends.
Now, PUBG is not on my top 5 list, but I have to agree. I have to say that I can see it. You know, I can definitely agree that PUBG started a massive trend that's still going on today, which again leads into our battle pass discussion too. Like that was something that comes out of battle royale. So like, which also I guess you can kind of say started the microtransaction craze as well. Super wild. Yeah, I definitely can see that. I definitely can see it.
Didn't Epic actually steal the engine, or they were the base for the engine for PUBG, and then that's why they were able to put out Fortnite, if I'm not mistaken? Because like the base Fortnite game like didn't sell at all, and then the battle royale is what got Fortnite to be so popular.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't the engine that they stole. It was basically just like the concept, the battle royale.
Well,
and
was
that's
it
what
PUBG
they were
made on Epic's engine, and then they were like,
you mean Unreal?
Yeah, since it's made on Unreal, we can use
Let me
it.
double
Like they
check.
had like there was some weird legal jargon that allowed Epic to put, because I remember there was like a whole court case that was going on between the two. But it's interesting to think that Fortnite popularized it by literally stealing everything from PUBG.
Yeah,
which
is actually
so
running
crazy.
on the Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah, and there was like a big legal lawsuit. But I think it's really cool. Fun fact: PUBG is actually a higher grossing franchise than Fortnite, like by like $2 billion. So like PUBG,
That
even though
is
it's not as
very
popular,
interesting.
they make more money. I don't know how.
Yeah, especially
it's
since
because
it like died off.
PUBG you have to buy the game.
Yeah,
I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
PUBG was like $40 or $50 as opposed to Fortnite's free and you just buy microtransactions.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like Fortnite definitely, you know, when Fortnite stole it and what they did, which was smarter for them, they catered it towards children.
Yes.
Yeah.
They made it more cartoony and well, it was already cartoony, but like,
it was already
they
cartoony,
just,
but they just like catered because
Yeah.
that's when they started doing like more like funny costumes, and on top of that, they started getting like more collaborations. I mean, now we have like Marvel characters in the game, which I find
DC
still
characters.
yeah, I find it very jarring. I find it weird to see Batman with a gun, and it's not like a Flashpoint Thomas Wayne Batman. It's like, really, Bruce, you picking up
And,
that
like,
shotgun?
Batman can fight Kratos, who can fight Daryl from Walking Dead,
And
Who can
Thanos.
fight
Master
Ryu
Chief.
from Street Fighter? And
Yeah,
it's just crazy, but
Fortnite is basically the shooter smash, basically. That's
Yeah,
what they've become. It's
pretty
like
much.
Predator and Terminator in there, Sarah Connor, you know, shit like that. But like, and then, you know, like I said, like that children shit, and then that free to play is definitely what helped Fortnite 100%.
Yeah.
And you don't need PS Plus or anything like that to play it.
Nope.
You literally could just hop on with any type of internet,
No
not
problems
even
at
just
all.
like a solid internet, and just play that shit. Then it was
I mean, hell, you can
mobile.
even play it on mobile now.
Yeah, it was mobile.
Before
Switch,
Switch, you
Xbox.
can play it on like iPhone.
And like you play crossplay even on mobile.
Yep.
Yeah, you can
Like
play
my
with anyone
brother
in the
used
world
to
on any
play
console.
it on iPad with his friend who had it on Xbox. Like, it's fucking crazy.
It is crazy how far we've come.
But I definitely can see that. What about you, Starwin? What's your top 5, man? What's your number 5?
Doom 64.
Ooh, we getting
elaborate,
crazy.
please.
Yeah, man. There's no way that you can say that the first-person shooter genre didn't start with Doom 64. Like, there's absolutely no way that you can ever deny Doom 64. And it's great to see the franchise thriving again with the new Dooms that came out. So like it's nice to see that people still care about Doom, but Doom is literally the best. Well, not the best, but the original first-person shooter. Like that gory, crazy action pace, just fucking running around, letting off. Pop. It's crazy, man.
Zero, you can say something and I'll pose a question.
Like what exactly about Doom 64? Because I never played it. Like I never got into Doom until like I guess you could say the reboots or soft remakes or reboots of it came out. Like I didn't get into them until like much later because I didn't have like a PC or anything like that, and also around the N64 era, I was way too young to play M-rated games, and my parents locked that shit down on me. So what was it like in there that you felt like was so innovative?
Well, again, I feel like at the time there was nothing really on the Nintendo console that was like Doom. There was nothing that had you like running around fighting demons and like seeing like guts explode, and like it was very detailed for that time, because like a lot of the other games you have like Sonic and like Street Fighter, you have the Marios, Kirby's and stuff like that. Like no one was really getting into the level of detail that Doom had at the time. And then there were like so many different weapons, so it's not like you were just like jumping on someone to kill them or like swallowing them. You were able to change out through so many different weapons. The level design was pretty dope, and it was first person, so it was so immersive at the time. It was something you could play at home, and I want to say it's one of the first cases of PC games coming to console. I'm not 100% sure on this, but from my understanding, it's one of the earliest games that I know that was extremely popular on PC and then moved to console because of how popular it was. And again, I can't think of another first person shooter around that time that was as big as Doom. Like, I feel like a lot of games nowadays try to grab people's attention the way that Doom did, because it was so fast paced, it was so immersive, and there was just so much going on, but it was still so much fun. And then they had the multiplayer on N64, which is dope.
Now, okay, I wanna argue this one.
Okay.
Oh.
I wanna argue this. I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. I just think for the sake of content, I want to argue with you. So, what do you? Okay, I have three cases maybe. What separates Doom 64 from Doom?
The original Doom, or
Yeah.
the newer one?
The original Doom.
Again, it's the portability, the fact that it was accessible to so many people, because I feel like at the time PCs weren't like commonplace. It's not like everyone had a PC, as to where the video game genre or video game pop culture was rising. So you were much more likely to find an N64 in someone's house than a PC. And then the fact that you could play with other people. So like if I had N64 and Doom 64, I could have 3 of my friends come over and we could all play together. Opposed to like PC, you can't really do that. That wasn't like really a big market at the time. PCs were pretty expensive from my understanding. And then again, like the internet wasn't like really a big thing at the time. Like people were just starting to learn how to deal with it. Netcodes were probably garbage. I never played Doom on PC online, so I can't speak to that. But I'm assuming it was dog shit. The shit was dog water. You can't tell me that it was amazing. So I think accessibility and then being able to play with other people is what made Doom 64 so popular.
So Doom was actually made to life because of another series that Bethesda now also owns. I think they always did.
Quake.
No, Wolfenstein. So Wolfenstein, I believe, was the first first-person shooter. It was so innovative because you could kill Hitler and shit, and you're killing Nazis, and that was like one of the first. It might have been the first PC first-person shooter ever made. And yeah, so I always
let's find that out. So keep talking.
I always thought that Wolfenstein was the innovation for first-person shooter.
Okay,
like Doom came from that.
And then Quake came from Doom, right?
I believe so. Yeah. So
That's
Doom
crazy.
was made by a guy. He was made by an American.
Yes.
I watched like a 5-part video game documentary series on the birth of video games. And Wolfenstein was one of them, but the Doom is what popularized. It's kind of like what Fortnite did.
It's a PUBG
with PUBG, and like Wolfenstein is the PUBG, and Doom is what popularized it. But I actually did a little bit of research while you were talking.
Yeah, it's Wolfenstein's the first one, 1981. No, 1981.
Doom came out in March of 1997. And what's to say, right? Yeah, March 31st, 1997. So technically it came before GoldenEye, but it only came 4-5 months before GoldenEye. What do you think GoldenEye was more revolutionary than Doom? Because I don't hear a lot of people talk about Doom 64 that often.
So from my circle, from how I grew up, a lot of people were constantly talking about Doom, but at the same time, there were a lot of parents that were hesitant to buy Doom for their children because like the box art and everything. As to where James Bond 007, it was a lot easier for you to like digest, for you to be like, oh yeah, like my kid plays James Bond, like he's James Bond. Like that's a lot easier to, I guess, to cope with as a parent, opposed to Doom, where like you know that you're killing people. I mean, you're killing demons and devils and all that, and there's like blood and gore and stuff like that. Where like you don't see none of that in GoldenEye. Like people just die casually, like they just fall to the floor and they look ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fair. No, I just wanted to make some, controversy.
I feel like it would be the same thing that you could say about like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. That like more people were buying Street Fighter opposed to Mortal Kombat because that's what their parents were allowing them to buy.
I think fighting games is a lot different. I think the argument of fighting games is a lot different. Mortal Kombat created the ESRB, so yeah. I think that like it was hard for parents to monetize children because Mortal Kombat did oversell Street Fighter at one point due to the simple fact that you could literally just walk into an arcade and play it no matter your age. There was no restriction on your age in arcades until the ESRB was created because they started porting Mortal Kombat to consoles and they wanted to limit what children can access on consoles. Because you still to this day, you can't limit what children play on arcades. If you go to any arcade in 2021, if you can find one, and Mortal Kombat's there's no ESRB on that. Any kid can put in their fucking coin in there and play it. And there's no workers that are going to monetize that. But, like, there was a point where Mortal Kombat did oversell Street Fighter. And that's why, like, Turbo 2, that's why 2 kept getting fucking ported and updated to take back. And then, they released 3, and 3 sucked when it first came out. And Second Impact wasn't good either, but Third Strike is when it
really hit its stride.
Like, took back its crown. Because then Mortal Kombat did 4, and then once they did 4, like Mortal Kombat went down to the shitter. My number 5, Minecraft.
Oh,
so interesting.
My number 5 is Minecraft. I would put Minecraft at number 1 if I could, but I think there are certain things in like the gaming world that actually revolutionize gameplay. I don't think Minecraft revolutionized anything in gameplay or in graphics or in like anything like that. Minecraft basically revolutionized how and who are playing video games.
Yes, I agree.
Minecraft popularized video games. It was the beginning of video games becoming mainstream media. Everyone played Minecraft, whether you were 5, whether you were a grandpa, older people, younger people, they played Minecraft. It brought in the casual gamer. And at that point, once people saw that if you can make bare bones, minimum, chill, relaxing games for anyone, literally anyone will play this game, that's when the market was like, we need to cater to not only gamers, but we need to cater to the casual audience. And the casual audience is key. Because if you can bring in anyone who doesn't play video games and sell them on your video game, that's where you're making money. It's the same mold that Disney and Marvel does. We're not catering to comic book fans. We're catering to the average movie watcher. If we can get the average movie watcher to watch our movie because it's good and fun, that's the gold. That's the money, right? So Minecraft definitely changed the mindset of developers and definitely changed how games were played and who was playing games, just simply based off of now everyone is a fucking gamer. And I think ever since Minecraft came out, I never felt like I was a niche audience. I never felt like my hobby was nerdy or fucking lame. Now video games is the biggest media consumed in the world. So yeah, that's why Minecraft is my number 5.
What year did Minecraft debut?
First made public in May 20 and
11.
20 no, not 2011, 2009 before fully releasing
It
in
was in
November
beta.
2011.
Okay, so 2009. You can say beta.
Yeah, so that was
Yeah.
like the alpha and beta of it back in 2009.
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
2011 was where it really like hit its stride, where it was actually going to iPhone, Xbox, and then later on going to Sony and going to Nintendo as well.
Yep.
So yeah,
There's a reason why it's the single game
that's number
greatest
one.
sold
Yep.
game.
And the crazy thing is that's actually my number 4.
Oh.
Minecraft is my number 4 because the exact same reason. It basically turned people who weren't into gaming.
Gamers.
Like they were wanting to pick it up so they can play with a grandchild, a son, daughter, basically anyone who was playing it. If they wanted to join in, they can pick it up, play it. Not only that, you just see people who wanted to make games but
Yeah.
didn't have like coding experience or anything like that,
Mhm.
actually making games in there because of the creative mode where you can
Yeah.
actually set up areas and basically spawn people in. So you had people who were creating games in there. Like the whole game doesn't have really that much of a point until like later on where they added in like the Ender Zone and like the Ender Dragon. But before
Mhm.
that, it had no story concept. It was just you in a world, you survive, do XYZ, build what you can with like the materials you gather, and people made a game out of that. And on top of that, this game also is part of like I forgot which country exactly, but they use this in schools to basically help kids try and figure out a way to better help the environment, like actually helps them grow into a society and how to better and like trying to have like fundamentals of like what we can do and how it affects other people. So I really commend, these people creating this game and giving it to the public because honestly, this is a game I will pick up if I am tired, don't want to do anything that's too actiony, that's going to get like my, blood boiling and like adrenaline pumping. I put this on, sit down, relax, build anything, or just go
Yeah.
into survival mode and just walk around, gather resources, and just build a house that I can show off to people.
Yeah, I'm guilty. I play Minecraft.
Fun fact: I've never played Minecraft.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for everyone, but it's for everyone. Like, I own it on the Switch.
Like the thing is,
it's
you
so
may not
much
think
fun.
it's your type of game, but until you actually play it,
Yeah.
that's when you realize if okay, I actually do like
Yeah.
Minecraft, or it's like, yeah, I commend it, but it's not for me.
So I'm gonna weeb out for a second. I'm that asshole that never played Minecraft, but I own Dragon Quest Builders 1 and 2.
So
I'm that
basically, you
asshole.
like the inspiration. You're the guy who says, "Oh, Fortnite's horrible," but fucking no, not Fortnite. PUBG's horrible, but Fortnite's the greatest thing ever.
So from my understanding, when Dragon Quest Builders, the first one originally came out, from my understanding, there was no actual story mode in Minecraft. So when I heard that there was a story mode for a Minecraft-esque game, I was like, oh, like I'll try that. Like I love like having objectives in games and like being able to do things, and then like designing the castle for the characters was really cool. And then I was familiar with a lot of the Dragon Quest elements and like the monsters and stuff. So that's something that drew me into it. But it's not to say that I wouldn't have played Minecraft if there was a story. If there was when I was aware of Minecraft, I probably would have played it if there was a story mode.
There's not necessarily a story mode. It's like survival mode, right?
It's survival, but there's like some tasks that you can do. Yeah, like before there was nothing, but now they actually have you doing tasks, and there is an actual end game when you.
There's a Minecraft story mode, like a Telltale's game.
Yeah, but that's completely different from like this one. Like this one, it has a somewhat story because it basically just gives you like a task to do, and your task is to slay the Ender Dragon. And then once you do that, that's when you get like a text of credits, basically explaining to you what happened and everything like that.
And then you do sandbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I can't tell you how many people are quote unquote gamers because of Minecraft.
Half the world. Half of the fucking world.
So are you gonna say something else for your number 4, or are you gonna just stay with Minecraft?
No, it's Minecraft. Honestly, if we have like same games on our list, I think that's a good thing because that
Yeah.
shows
Yeah.
where we are on like the spectrum of like what we believe is innovative and if we agree on things. So I like the fact that me and you both have Minecraft on the list, even though they're not ranked the same.
The
It's
same,
still
but
interesting where we place
universally
them.
we think it's important.
Yeah, and it's interesting where we see them as placed.
I always believe in top 5 lists, it's hard to be like, no, this is number 5, no, this is number 4, no, this is number 5. I feel like in top 5 lists, it's just, this is it. These are the 5, like, kings,
Yeah.
that innovated. So that's how I look at it. So for me, ranking doesn't really even matter, but it's cool. What about you, Starwin? What's your number 4, man?
I think I want to say World of Warcraft.
Okay. All right. I actually was thinking about that one, but I don't have enough of an argument.
I mean, there's no like real argument for it because like again this goes back to the PC days where they popularized the MMORPG world, like the community. Like I feel like it's so hard to talk about MMORPGs and then not think immediately of World of Warcraft because to this day people still play like the base WoW. Like
they re-released
it's still
it
going. Yeah,
they
a lot of people
classic
hated
for
the re-release because it like destroyed a lot of the things with the original game. But that's a discussion for another day. World of Warcraft in itself is so innovative because I feel like it connected so many people. From my perspective, it was the first time that I saw people really connecting all over the world online at such a young age. Because like you've heard of like AOL and like MySpace and things like that. Like those things were all like popular, but like to be playing a game which is usually done at home alone or like couch co-op with your friends to now be playing with someone like 900 miles away from you and then to be talking flawlessly through a headset and to be going on quests together and then considering how depth the story was, like it wasn't just like lame shit that you were doing in the game. It's not like you're just walking around and just like tapping A. Like there was full-fledged quests that you were going on. You were joining guilds. It was crazy. It was a real online world, and I feel like a lot of other games wouldn't be able to do it unless World of Warcraft did it first.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, you became very popular when South Park parodies you. And do an amazing job at it.
That was a very good episode. That's actually one of the better episodes South Park's ever done.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely have to agree, man. That's definitely, there's no argument there.
And what is your 4, AJ?
My number 4 is Final Fantasy VII.
I had a feeling this was going to make your list.
Final Fantasy VII is my number 4 simply because I believe through, whatever I read and research and whatever it is, it seems like Final Fantasy VII was the West's big JRPG. It felt like that this was the one that brought the West to play more JRPGs. And it's a reason why Square milks the shit out of FF7 in any way that they possibly fucking can. And Final Fantasy was always super popular in Japan. And, that's the case with most games that come from Japan. But especially back then, now it seems that a lot of Japan's devs are trying to cater to the West more, with Sega and Atlus and Capcom, except Nintendo sometimes. But yeah, FF7 felt like it was the one. I've seen a lot of people talk about how this changed their lives and how this was their introduction to a turn-based style that wasn't, Pokemon. Like Pokemon was my introduction to I guess JRPGs, right? Because it's technically a JRPG.
Yeah.
But I didn't play Final Fantasy VII until I was a lot older, and I always heard, like, my cousin always talked about FF7 on PlayStation. It's like, you gotta play this, you gotta play this. And being a kid, you're just kind of like, I was a pretty average kid. I was just like, I want to play Mario. Fuck you. I'm gonna play Sonic and fucking Pokemon. That's a lot of reading, even though Pokemon has wild reading. But yeah, and in terms of its storytelling and its characters, it was just so innovative for its time over here, at least. In Japan, again, like I said, they had the first 6 that they loved and all that, but over here it was definitely something revolutionary, which sparked, I guess, the storytelling aspect in video games. People didn't realize that, you can start to tell a lot of stories, which was I feel the PlayStation era in general was like, wow, you can actually tell stories with this. Games can now be more than just mindless fun. And, and it was the first Final Fantasy that was 3D, I believe. So
yes, it was
revolutionary on a lot of fronts. Or very revolutionary.
Probably one of like the most longer games possible at the time.
I completely disagree. With this. If we're gonna go on like what happened with Wolfenstein and Doom, I wouldn't say that Final Fantasy VII is definitely the game itself isn't as revolutionary as many people think. It's the technology that was available to Square at the time that was so revolutionary, because everything that's in Final Fantasy VII is so commonplace in so many other games, especially games that were out in the West at the time. It's the only reason Final Fantasy VII blew up was the technology and the fact that it was 3D, because there was no other game at the time for the genre that looked like that. So if Final Fantasy VII looked like another game, it wouldn't have blown up the way that it did. 100% it is due to the fact that it was on the PlayStation hardware and the way that it looked. So it's for me, it's a little iffy. I was actually going to say that Dragon Quest was actually the more innovative JRPG game, considering that it literally started the franchise and it made so many of the tropes that we see now in JRPGs common. Like the way that the story was told, the changing the classes, the way that battles rolled out, random encounters and stuff like that. That was all started in Dragon Quest games, as to where Final Fantasy just kind of took it and ran with it. And they used the technology that was all available on the first PlayStation to bring something that no one had ever really seen before. So it's not the game itself, it's the technology. So if they weren't polygons, no one would have cared, because Final Fantasy VI has so many of the same elements as 7, even has very similar gameplay, like the ATB bar. The ATB bar has been in Final Fantasy games since like 4. So it has nothing to do with like the game itself. It's literally just the technology and the way that it looks. No other JRPG at the time had cinematics like that, and the way that they were presenting the story to you. So I'm a little iffy on that one. It's definitely a big landmark for the genre, but I don't think it's as revolutionary as people think it is.
But
I'm going to probably have to back AJ up on this. His main thing was actually about story. He said like there was nothing like that at the time, and it really wasn't.
There were tons of games at the time,
but the story really reflected and really like hit home to a lot more people. Like the story, like even like the creator, I don't know how to say his first name, but Sakaguchi, he said the reason why this game is probably like the most favorite out of everything like in the whole series is because of the story. Like the story resonates with people. The story is about loss, life. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I think AJ is saying, is that's why it's so revolutionary. It's because this game basically showed him that it's not mindless fun. It's actually a story that can go beyond that, almost as if it's like a Hollywood script being written out. And I do have to agree with them on that, because at the time there was really nothing like that.
I feel like, you're a JRPG enthusiast, right? So for you, this is, what's better than FF7. And I'm not going to say that FF7 is the best Final Fantasy in its entirety.
I'm not debating how good the game is, or that there's other games that are better. It's the fact that, again, it's the way that Final Fantasy story presented to you with the cinematics and like the way that the game looks physically is what makes the game so popular. Because like just try to imagine.
But you can't be like, that it's only popular because of its style, right? Which you can say, right? Okay. But you can't say it as a negative. That can't be a negative. You have to think about it as like, it took 7 games for JRPGs to feel respected in the West. That's how you have to look at it. And then you also have to look at it as like, Dragon Quest was around, but was it making sales numbers in the West? Mm-hmm. No, it wasn't. It wasn't changing anything for Westerners. There were niche Westerners who played the game, well, like yourself, I guess, if you want to consider yourself a niche, Westerner who played them, that, then, that's a small audience who's playing these games. And for those people, they always do this is better. Trust me, this is so much better. You should play this. But a casual Westerner is going to be like, nah, I'm not going to play that. It's very polygonish. And like Pokemon was,
just 2D sprites, just pixels.
Pokemon was separate from that because it was on a handheld console. Pokemon was revolutionary for a handheld console. You can get.
And let alone for the Game Boy was like the best-selling handheld.
Yeah. So for
everyone
this,
had one.
it feels like this was the one that resonated not just to a Japanese and niche audience. This is the one that resonated to a wider audience and pushed the envelope for other games to be more, like that. And if you want to say visually, then fuck it, it's visually, that's what it did. Visually it did it, but it did it. You can't say it's just visually this and that's only a reason why. Well, that's the only reason it needs,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I want it to be known that it's the visual aspects of the game, which is what made Final Fantasy blow up the way that it did. Final Fantasy 7 is what made it blow up the way that it did. I'm not trying to like shit on 7. I love 7. I love the games. I love that universe. It's just, if the game didn't look the way that it did, it wouldn't have blown up the way that it did. Is what I'm trying to say. So it has more to do than just the story.
So you're agreeing with me?
Yeah, but it's how the story was presented is what I want to be known. Like that's. I just want to give my take on it. That it's the way that the game looks is why it blew up.
So if you agree with me, why did you disagree?
Yeah, you said I'm going to disagree with this.
Yeah, because he was saying that it was like the gameplay aspects and like it's something that like people hadn't seen before in the West, but that's not necessarily true. I was like looking at it like it's like a half truth kind of thing. I just wanted to throw in my two cents that
maybe it was something you've seen before. It wasn't something I've seen as a kid before. So we're two different kids, right?
Yeah.
I just feel like I was more the average American child. I wasn't exposed to this kind of stuff as a kid. I was exposed to Mario and Pokemon and Sonic and fucking Street Fighter, whatever. And I feel like even Street Fighter was a niche audience for me because kids didn't fucking care about Street Fighter. And kids didn't care about Resident Evil. Yeah, it was more about Mortal Kombat, like growing up as a kid. So, that was the hot take one. I like it.
Yeah.
I actually took your advice and I am drinking applesauce through a straw.
Ooh, you love it, don't you?
It's amazing.
Good. Oh, it's so fucking good.
Well, go ahead, Gerald. What's your number 3?
It's kind of a toss-up on this one, but my number 3 is Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
I was hoping that was on somebody's list. Okay. So you have it too.
It's on my list. Yeah. The reason why I put it on those is because everyone knows that I love fighting games. I play them like crazy. I inhale that shit. It's my lifeblood. Love it. No matter what it is, I'll pick it up, give it a try, and if I love the series, I go into it. I'm not the biggest Street Fighter fan, but I remember constantly going to arcade and playing Street Fighter 2 Turbo and basically just having so much fun with it, even though I was like dog shit at it. And I was just kept on pumping in quarters just to play as Ken constantly. But I see it innovative because this is where fighting games take a lot of inspiration from. Because before then, you didn't really have a combo system. You just had hit a button, hopefully it hits, and you just block. Because of like a mistake or a glitch, you can actually cancel out of an attack going to from super to a normal attack. And that kind of really helped bring out more of the fighting system towards that and really help it develop and grow more. So I really do give it credit, and it's the thing that helped kick down the door and basically tell people hey, this is what a fighting game is, and this is how you play it. I mean, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Street Fighter, but I give it credit where credit is due, and it's basically the grandfather of all fighting games.
Is it your number 3 as well, StarWind?
It was, yeah.
Oh, so what do you have to add to that?
Nothing. He's extremely right, considering how iconic the game was and that it was basically in every single arcade around the world. It was another one of those games that built a community around it. That there were so many people. Like I remember being a kid and hearing my uncle talking about, yeah, we're gonna go to St. Mark's, we're gonna go play the people in Street Fighter over there. Damn, bro, you gotta travel to play this game against other people, and that's what a lot of people used to do at the time. Again, it's community building. That's one of the things.
Still do that shit.
Yeah, it's so
oh, yeah.
crazy to think that this piece of software can touch people in so many different ways that they feel the need to go and exchange ideas or exchange combos with others and be this is how I play this character, testing their might against others. It's crazy. Yeah. And that's, I feel what sparked the need for the online community to grow the way that it did, because it was already so popular in arcades. And then now with arcades kind of losing way in a lot of places around the world where consoles were becoming more popular and they were easily accessible, and you didn't have douchebags sitting in arcades, like beating up little kids and like stealing quarters and shit like that. Now it was easier to play with other people around the world. And I feel like you can't deny that most games nowadays, when you think about combos, they talk about like, oh, like the input for this is like Hadouken. Like people will reference Street Fighter in other fighting games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's honestly how I
Yeah.
like had to teach someone. I'd be like, all right, so you want to do a Hadouken because they didn't understand
Yeah.
what a quarter circle meant, or the
Exactly.
numbers where it's like 2, 3, 4, like that. Like what's that? It's like the map, and it's like, okay, just do a Hadouken. It's like, oh, I know that. I mean, hell, like you said, it was so popular in the arcades. For me, there was no arcades around me, but there was a pizzeria around my house, and
Yes.
I remember constantly going in there just to play it because that was the only place where I could play that game.
Yeah. I don't have a fighting game on my list. I was tossing around games for a minute or two, and because I had made my list really fast, and then I was like, oh, I should throw in Turbo. But I'm glad you guys mentioned Turbo because it does deserve a spot on a list.
Mm-hmm.
Street Fighter 2 Turbo, people still play that game. That game got re-released like 2-3 years ago again.
On
Ultra
the
Street Fighter 2 on the
Switch,
Switch.
didn't it?
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
30th anniversary.
And it's on the Street Fighter 30th anniversary thing.
Yeah, it's on the
that's what you
35th
said.
anniversary. That's where it like started out at.
Yeah.
And then there was the first person version in the other game.
And
Yeah.
it's in the Switch one.
No, but
Mhm.
there's two Switch Street Fighter 2s. There's the 30th
know.
anniversary
I thought it
one,
was
and
just
then there's the
one.
one that's
Oh,
just
yeah.
Street Fighter 2.
It's Ultra
I
Street
thought
Fighter 2,
it
but
came
they
with
added
the
Violent
30th
Ken.
too. I thought it was just
No,
the
yeah.
30th one.
They're
that
two
just came out.
different ports.
I didn't know there was 2 ports.
Which on the
Yeah.
30th anniversary one, there's 3 different versions of
Of Street Fighter, yeah.
2. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Because
Because
there
they
was so
have-
many different versions. Actually, I want to point this out. Street Fighter is so popular. The manga I'm reading, High Score Girl, they're constantly playing Street Fighter because it takes place back in that year when it first came out. And like
Yeah, we see
the
it. We
main
saw it on Netflix.
Yeah.
the main protagonist, he plays Guile in there, and then
Yeah.
basically I love that manga so much because they make so many good references to Street Fighter where it's like Guile turtling, and then they mention how
Yeah.
like Street Fighter 2 got an update, and the way they had it updated because there was no online back then where you can just plug in a cable and reroute the decoding. You actually had to create a brand new circuit board for it, and you would have to ship that out, or you have to buy a new cabinet. And my God, I just love the fact that whole thing is actually a major like component in High Score Girl.
And you showed up to your local arcade and you saw Super Street Fighter 4 and there's DJ, there's who else was at it? Was it Cammy?
Mm-hmm.
And was it Honda?
mean Street
No,
Fighter
Honda
2?
was in the original. Yeah, Super Street Fighter 2.
Fei Long?
Fei
It was
Long.
E Honda.
Yeah. So you were like, damn, I've been playing these same 8 characters. Now there's like fucking 12.
And you can play as the bosses.
And
Yeah.
then in
then you
Turbo,
can play as the bosses, yeah.
in Turbo,
Mhm.
if you knew the input properly, you can play as Akuma, where he
Akuma,
first
yeah.
introduced.
Mm-hmm. So Capcom knew what their gold was, and that sparked again Mortal Kombat, and it sparked other people to create other fighting games.
That
Because
was-
fighting game genre was making money.
Basically, Street Fighter was Japan's fighting game, and then Mortal Kombat became the US's fighting game.
Yeah.
And
then
basically,
Namco brought up Tekken.
Yeah,
And then Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
Weird.
yeah.
Virtual Fighter, too, was a big one.
Mhm.
Virtual
can
Fighter as
we-
well, Sega's.
Can we mention that me and AJ played Virtual Fighter 5 and immediately after playing deleted it?
It was not that good.
It's not a bad game. It's not a bad game. It's not a bad game. It's not. I watched the gameplay after because I was like, am I just really that bad? And people are going ham on that game, bro.
I bet they are. I
Yeah.
bet they are.
Yeah.
But we did not have the best first experience. No.
No.
Yeah, it's
The
kind of hard. You
UI
gotta,
is,
to find a
pretty
fighting game
garbage.
that you like it's very hard because you got to like
Yeah.
the character, you have to like the lore behind it, and you also have to find a character that fits right with you, like your play style.
I don't think I've done that with a fighting game
Really?
recently.
No,
I
recently.
think the last fighting game I did that with was MKX. That was the last fighting game that I felt like I could play this for hours. Like Street Fighter 5, I like and I love, and it's so much better now. Like the game is so much better. But MKX religiously brought me back to playing it consistently. And before MKX, it was Ultimate Marvel 3. Because I played Ultimate Marvel 3 religiously. You wouldn't see it in my gameplay now because I'm fucking dog shit at the game now. But back then, I played Ultimate Marvel religiously. But we're not here to talk about that.
Injustice 2 come out? Because wasn't that another big game that you were playing?
I loved Injustice 2 in its initial
I want to say it probably came out in
2017.
Yeah. No, not 2000 something.
Yeah, it was 2017.
Damn, really?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I know because I was going to
May 11th,
about my college.
2017.
It was about a month before Persona, I believe. Or a month after.
Oh, yeah, it was May 11th, 2017.
Yeah, Persona was April, I believe. I liked Injustice 2 a lot. Like, I played a lot of Injustice 2, but that was around the time that I was realizing how busted NetherRealm's idea on video games was, and how NetherRealm can't make good fighting games. So, that was the game that broke the ice for me. And I was just like,
NetherRealm, if you're listening, fix your shit.
NetherRealm will never make a game as good as MKX ever again. MKX is peak NetherRealm. MKX is the best game NetherRealm has ever developed in their life. And that game busted. That game is busted. Don't get me wrong. That game is busted, but it's fucking fun. It is fun as fuck. And Injustice 2 has good combos, but there's just some shit in Injustice 2 that is very off-putting. But again, like I said, that's another topic for a different day. My number 3, y'all gonna moan and groan. My number 3 is Resident Evil 4.
That's not a shocker.
Resident Evil 4 is known as the third-person over-the-shooter revolutionary
over-the-shoulder
game. Yeah.
Yeah, it was over the shoulder.
That game sparked the over-the-shoulder shit. Without RE4, there's no Dead Space, there's no Gears, there's no...
I wouldn't say
Max
Gears
Payne?
is like over the shoulder. I would say that's more like third person.
What? Gears is definitely over the shoulder.
Gears is over the shoulder.
Gears is 100% over the shoulder.
Alright. Yeah, I'll give it that.
And I don't know, I watched a video on this years ago and it's stuck with me since. RE4 started the brown texture, the brown color scheme craze. Yeah. Every game following RE4 had brown palettes. Very doo-doo brown palettes. It was very weird. RE4 proved that action was the way of the future. You had to make crazy over-the-top action games, and that was the trend following that. Everyone fucking made action games. Uncharted came out years before that. God of War also does the over-the-shoulder thing now. The Last of Us does it. A lot of fucking games. Max Payne 1 and 2 did it.
Kane and Lynch, Army of Two.
Kane and Lynch, Army of Two. There's another game that I forgot. It was in my head earlier, and I completely forgot what it was. Yes, Kill Switch was the game. Out the fucking window with fixed camera angles, and out the fucking window with shit like that. There was another game, man. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Man, it's just gonna list all third over the shoulder games right now.
Tomb Raider technically was always like not over the shoulder. It was more like behind it. Even Fortnite is over the shoulder, is it not? You can count that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's iffy because you can literally have the camera set above your head.
All I'm saying is, man,
it's the same thing
third person over the shoulder games is fucking.
Okay, third person over the shoulder, yeah.
Yeah,
because if we're gonna be splitting hairs, then I could say the same thing with Gears.
Resident Evil 4 is considered, again, top 10 greatest video games of all time. I've seen so many top 10 greatest video games of all time lists, and RE4 consistently hits those lists. Because RE4 was so big for a lot of people, which is crazy because it was on the GameCube. And no one had a GameCube. Well, everyone had a GameCube, but like the GameCube has terrible sales compared to any other console that was like out at the time and still after it. And man, and RE4 is ported to everything now. RE4 is on every fucking console. It's everywhere, even mobile at one point.
There's multiple mobile versions.
Yeah. This game is wild, man.
Hell, that game was even
really,
on flip phones back in the day.
Yeah. This game definitely, I feel, brought in that third person over the shoulder genre and definitely brought in that action genre. Started that action heavy shit.
Yeah. That
people started to love. Yeah, the RE4 is my number 3.
All right.
Again, it's no specific order. This is how I just listed it on my phone.
All right. No rebuttals or anything like that?
No, I have nothing against that. Yeah.
No, all right.
As much as I don't like RE4, like I mean, I love RE4, but I don't like RE4 as an RE game. But I have to admit that RE4 is the
You commend it
revolutionary
for
one.
being like a good
Yeah.
horror action game. It's not
Yes.
complete
It's
horror
not survivor
because
horror.
this is honestly where the time when it became more like action oriented.
Yes.
Because it
Yes.
kind of took away like the suspense and atmosphere of like turning that corner, not knowing what's going to be next to you, where you
And
kind of already know what's going to happen because you can hear and turn everything.
and without the concept of RE4, there'd be no DMC.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Devil May
DMC was born out of
Cry
that.
came because of Resident Evil 4.
Yep, and then started the over-the-top crazy combo action game thing. So
Yeah.
a lot came out of RE4, man. The development and everything.
Yeah, so we have Ari to thank for a lot of things. All right, so on to number 2. Now this one, so my number 1 and number 2, I feel like it might be a little bit of a cheat because it actually is 2 games that I'm putting on here because I feel like they've very much like correspond with each other very well. And my number 2 is actually Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2.
Ah. Okay. All right.
I'm not sure if that's like a good one or a bad one, but I'm gonna list out my
So
reasons
Metal Gear
why.
Solid is my number 1.
Ah, you see? You see? Well, let's see if it matches up with what I have to say. So the reason why these 2 games like innovated like stealth games, like the first one was still stealth, but it was like a 2D flat world where you see everything. Where this one, you had such limited view of things, and you had to really take in your environment. This isn't counting the Twin Snakes, which is the remake of the first one. It should, but at the time for the PlayStation, the fact that if you were to walk in the snow, it actually left footprints behind, and the enemies would actually pick up on that and track that down to find you. That at the time was never really seen or heard of before, and that's what really kind of helped bring out more of like the enemy AI. Like before, enemies would just be there doing one thing, but this one it kind of felt like it was alive because you would have them like walk around, and if you did take out one guy, either tranquilizing them or killing them, they have a radio. If they're doing their routine checks and they don't pick up, they're going to be suspicious and they're going to go looking for that person. And on top of that, if you don't pick up that body and hide it somewhere where no one's going to see it, you're screwed because they're going to find it and then they're going to be on high alert. And then they up the ante with Metal Gear Solid 2 by increasing the difficulty a little bit more, giving the AI the ability to kind of look up and down. So they really changed like a lot of perspective of how you do things because you'd be like, oh, well, I can just hide under here because they don't look down. Guess what? They're looking down now. You got to look at other options to hide. And
Also added the ability to shoot in first person.
as well as that, and that was really like helpful as hell. And on top of that, the story as well, because this was like probably to me, I'm not sure if they've done it before, but this was the first bait and switch with number 2, where you think you're going to be playing as Snake, but then you get turned into Raiden. Well, not turned into Raiden. You start playing as Raiden instead, and everyone was very disappointed at the time. But looking back at it, it was really nice. It was a really nice storytelling mechanic because you want to play as like this badass mercenary, the legendary soldier of fortune, but instead you're playing as this new rookie who you're basically that new rookie right there. And the story for it is just amazing. Like honestly, Hideo Kojima makes some amazing storytelling games along with some very innovative
Very weird
game
storytelling
mechanics.
games.
Very weird.
That is
I don't
weird
Yeah.
as
I don't
shit, and I
care. I
love
don't care
it.
if it's weird, but I love it, man.
Yeah, so
Okay,
do I.
you can show me Hal Emmerich saying this is like one of my Japanese animes, and I'm okay with that.
Let's not forget the audio and sound in these games because I feel
That's
like
what I was
that
about to
plays a
say.
huge part of the games. The way that
That is
the
true.
enemies interact with like the way like the sounds
Sound.
that you make, and then like even the sounds made by other characters in the game are
Yeah.
so iconic. Like I feel like
Knocking
maybe
on
like
that wall
8
where you had to
years
find
ago-
the hidden one
yeah,
right there.
and like even the when you die, like the game over screen, like there 8 years ago on YouTube, I feel like every quote unquote video game channel incorporated in some way the exclamation point. All those sounds are so fucking iconic, and I feel like it plays a huge part in what made that game so popular or that series so popular.
And the best Easter eggs.
Yes,
The best Easter eggs at the time. and Psycho Mantis. Boss fights were so revolutionary.
Oh yeah.
Voice acting was the best it's ever been in video games. Cutscenes were amazing. Snake saying, "You got a nice butt." There's some shit that you would never see. Yeah, it was my number one. So I guess I'm glad. Was it on your list, Darwin? Or
It was.
okay,
Oh,
so we
look at
all
that.
got MGS on our list. It revolutionized so many
Let's not
things.
also forget that you needed the game case for the first game.
Yes, to know how to call Meryl,
How to?
you had
Yeah.
to look at the back of the case.
If you rented it from Blockbuster, by the way, if you don't know what Blockbuster is, that is a relic of the time where you actually had to go to a store and rent a video game
Movies
and movies.
and games.
So, yeah, that was just crazy as hell.
Yeah, man, Hideo Kojima did a lot with this game, and he revolutionized a lot. MGS2 is my favorite of the series. I love MGS2.
Yeah,
But,
I
yeah.
don't know why it gets such a bad rap. It's just because you don't get to play a snake.
The bait and switch, that's all
Who-
it is. Yeah,
Who gives a shit? Honestly,
Like,
the bait
yeah,
and
who
switch
gives a
was
fuck?
like
Yeah.
the greatest part of the game.
it really is. It really is. So I love it so much. So I'm glad we all got that.
But which number was that one for you?
That was number one.
Yeah,
That's
that
number
that
one,
was
but
my
more
number
about
one.
Star One. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So I kind of...
That was our
I
numero
only have
uno.
one left.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to switch my 1 and 2 now.
Yeah, so now we're going to go on to your guys' number two.
Okay, yeah. So I guess this will be our both our last ones. You want to go first, Darwin?
I'm gonna say either Grand Theft Auto 3 or Vice City.
Yo, I almost put GTA 3 on this fucking list.
Bro, there's no denying how Grand Theft Auto has influenced the entirety of the gaming world. No matter what genre of game you play, they all feed off of the Grand Theft Auto model. Every single fucking game. The fact that there's I think 7 games that have gotten Game of the Year with the Grand Theft Auto model just
Yeah.
speaks for itself. Fucking Breath of the Wild, you have Witcher, you have Elder Scrolls. Bro, there's no denying how
They started the open sandbox.
how good it felt and how crazy it was to be in a giant open world and to do things that you never thought comparable in a video game. Getting into a car, driving around, then getting down, and then pulling out a grenade and just blowing people up. And then the star system where the cops would chase you. I remember being a little kid and the first time seeing the stars in me and what's that? Not knowing what's happening, and a couple cops come. You're like, I'm gonna just shoot these guys. I got guns, right? Bah, 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 bah. And then you get another star, beep, and then more cops show up, and you're like, wait,
And a SWAT shows up.
why haven't you gone away? Usually in games, when you kill someone, they stop coming, right? Not in Grand Theft Auto. Not in Grand Theft Auto. I feel like there's a whole generation of gamers that would just play Grand Theft Auto just to see how far they can get. What's the
I think
craziest
everyone's
thing?
done that one
Yeah,
point.
Bro, there's a whole
crazy-
generation of
Yes.
gamers that
How
still do
you
that
earn
now.
credit back on the playground in school.
GTA 5
It's like, how many
is
stars
not
did you get up
stopping.
to? I got to 5. Oh, yeah? I heard the kid in 5th grade got to 6. He took out everyone
you
and
lying?
even got the tank.
Bro, GTA 5 is still doing that.
They're about to port it to PS5 and Series X.
Yeah,
yeah.
GTA 5 is still revolutionizing the genre.
Yeah, I
And-
mean,
and when
gamers
you-
want 6 already, but we're just going to have to hold out for 5 for another few
And
more
you
years.
count Eleanor, Red Dead Redemption, Sleeping Dogs,
Mafia.
Mafia, True Crime. So many fucking games. Like you said, follow this formula, man, and it works.
You know what?
It
Don't even
always
forget, there's
fucking
also
works.
some other games that help branch out, like Spider-Man for one, like Spider-Man 2,
Yeah, the open
Spider-Man
world.
PS4.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they basically help create this open world thing, and everyone loves that shit like crazy.
Yeah, that was all GTA 3, man. It was all GTA
Yeah.
3.
I just want
commend
to
that.
honorably mention San Andreas. I
Oh,
love San Andreas.
I was
course.
going to
course.
mention that one because that everyone loved right there.
Yeah, but I feel
San
like
Andreas is the
3
best
and
one in the series.
Vice City are the ones that I feel like got everyone into the series, and then San
Yeah,
Andreas,
yeah.
everyone's like, "Oh my god, what is this game?"
They could do this with the series too.
You got Samuel L. Jackson in this game? Okay.
Man,
The
I
story
think,
in that game. Oh,
I also think even just getting a haircut and getting brolic,
yes.
or you could get
Or
fat,
getting fat,
like,
yeah.
yeah, like
And you can learn
really
different
felt like
fighting
you were living.
styles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can.
Mm-hmm.
On
He
top of
was a
that, you
real
also had that
person.
infamous hot coffee scene.
You can get hydraulics in your
which
car.
did not make Hillary Clinton any happier at all.
Oh man.
Grand Theft Auto, man. Grand
Yeah,
Theft
GTA
Auto.
is wild. GTA is definitely
Can you
wild. I
remember
love GTA.
the first time you ever saw someone playing the game and just being
Yeah.
like, "Nah, you can't do that. What you mean? Nah,
Yeah.
nah." Oh,
going to my cousin's house, and he popped in GTA 3, and so what the fuck is this? And he goes in a car. Well, he steals a car, and I was like, whoa! And he just starts running everyone over. I was like, what the? I remember going to my mom, and I was just like, yo, ma. I need this game. You don't understand. I fucking need this game.
Oh
It's-
my
it's,
god. I remember going to one of my friend's house at the time, and I had already got used to playing the game, and he was like, "Yo, bro, I got you." And he pulled out a little notebook and opened it up to the cheat codes, and I was like,
oh
"What's that?"
my god,
All
yeah.
the
What's
cheat
that?
codes.
And he was like, "Bro, put this in," and then you do it, and then you get like the infinite ammo and all the guns, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, "What do you mean?"
Where you just
You get a rocket
start spawning
launcher?
in like helicopters and stuff.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
and
so
cars.
crazy.
Or when you get the
Oh.
full 5 wanted level.
Yeah, he tricked me. The first time I ever put in that cheat code, he was like, "Nah, do this and you can never die." And I was like, "Bet, I'm gonna do this." Beep, 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 beep. And then all the cops just spawn on
It's a
you.
5-star.
And I was like, "Yo, why you lying to me? Why you lying to me? You like trying to run away?"
Amazing fucking game. Well,
Fun
I
story.
guess,
One of my friends, he had Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and he lent it to one of our friends. His mom fucking forbid him from ever playing that game because she heard about the sex in there, the violence. She caught him with it and took that game away.
my
Wasn't
God.
his copy. She took away our
Damn,
other friend's
Daniel.
copy and lost it. Like she didn't know
She
where it
threw
was
it
at.
away. She threw it
Yeah,
Oh
away.
she
no
threw it
no
out.
no!
That's
This
not
is
no
the kicker.
loss.
We found that store. Oh, we found that copy. I think in 2016, 2015. Like all those years later, they finally found it. He's like, "Hey, you want your copy of San Andreas back?" And he's like, "No,
What
I can't play that shit ever again." And besides, they ported it already. How much money do you think we can get for it? Like 50 cents?
Yeah, San Andreas you can get on anything now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. My mom surprised me with GTA 3 one day, and she had a really long talk with me before I played the
Oh.
game, because I guess she did her research on it, which she did in general with every game that she got me. And she was just like, "Look, I know what this game contains. I know what it is, and I know why you want to play it. Just promise me you will never reenact anything that you see in here, and you're just gonna play it to have fun." I was like, "This is why I fucks with you, mom."
You the real one
And I've never murdered
The
anyone
first
in
thing
my
he did was
life.
beat him a hooker.
that we know of.
Oh man. Oh man. Speaking of that, having sex with the prostitute and then beating her up and taking your money back.
Taking their money right
That was
after.
some revolutionary shit. That was
Oh,
some
shit.
revolutionary shit.
Speaking of revolutionary, have you ever saw the video online where this guy's saying like he went to go get some food and his friend texted him saying, "Hey, why are you on San Andreas?" Or no, not San Andreas, on Grand Theft Auto 5. He pulled up like his gamer tag and you see him in the strip club and he goes, "If I'm not home, that only means one thing." As he goes inside to his room, his little brother's in there and he's just like trying to hold the door closed. He's like, "No, no, no, get out, don't come in, don't come in."
Oh man.
So
Well, I guess my number 2, which is now going to be my number 1 because Metal
Yeah.
Gear Solid. This one's, I guess, going to be the millennial answer, right? If Minecraft wasn't the millennial answer, this is going to be the millennial answer. I'm sorry for anyone that I'm going to upset with this entry.
Oh,
I'm
no.
sorry to you two for upsetting you with
Fortnite.
this entry. It
It's
is
gonna be
not Fortnite. I think if I
Okay.
said Fortnite, I get a much better response than what
COD.
I'm about to say. What?
is it that bad?
COD.
I almost put COD on this list. I almost did, because COD revolutionized the first-person shooter industry, and it revolutionized the online multiplayer industry.
Yes.
Yeah, I can give it that.
And I love COD as much as anyone around here hates it. I don't like the new
You called the
ones.
proper
like
name
that.
COD, like all the cool kids.
He said COD, so now I'm saying COD. Yes, I like COD. I do like COD, but This entry is. Does anyone else want to guess? No? Anyone else got any guesses before I go?
I'm nervous, so let's hear it.
The Last of Us.
Oh, okay. No, am I supposed to be offended?
A lot of people get offended.
How?
So, I pick The Last of Us simply because.
Are we talking about the first one or the second one, or the series in
the
whole?
first one? We're talking about the first one. We're not talking about the series.
If it was the
We're
second
talking
one, I
about the
think
first
we
one.
would probably got a lot of hate mail right now.
Oh yeah, we definitely got a lot of hate mail. I love The Last of Us 2, by the way. Fuck all of you. But
Same here.
The Last of Us, the first one, 2013 on the PS3. I believe that Sony, around the time that The Last of Us came out, there wasn't a lot of single player games that were not made by Sony. Single player games came out and they were always thrown to the side and kind of always thought of as to be niche. And, you know, everyone played COD, everyone played Gears, and online, Halo Online, Street Fighter 4 Online. Everything was online. Everybody played online games. And we didn't get beautiful storytelling games, which I believe that Uncharted is the Wolfenstein to
The Last of Us Doom.
The Last of Us Doom, yeah. So I was going to give this credit to Uncharted 1, actually, to being the one that brought back not first person games, but like for one player games. There you go. That's what I'm trying to say. I had an aneurysm. I think that The Last of Us 2 in 2013 revitalized the single player game experience. And it brought back a renaissance, essentially, that happened after it. Once The Last of Us came out towards the end of the PS3's lifespan, it brought in a slew of single player games that spanned the PS4, Xbox One landscape and generation. Now it bleeds into the new generation, our current generation with the PS5 and all that. It just really did it. And the games that followed it, most of them, I guess you can say, are Sony exclusives. But there are also games like Bethesda, right? So Bethesda started to pride themselves after that, because Bethesda made a lot of single player games back in the day, and then they started focusing mostly on like online games. And then, you know, Fallout 3 came out and Fallout New Vegas came out around like 2011, 2012, around that time. And they were very well renowned games, but they never hit the stride that The Last of Us hit. Because like I said, for single player games were a thing of a past. That was the MGS era of games, and The Last of Us definitely brought it back. And just through storytelling and acting, it felt like a AAA fucking movie. Like, you sat there and you watched the movie and you were emotional and you cried and you felt for characters the way you feel through them through TV shows, through books, through movies, whatever it was. It really brought media, video games together. It felt like it glued everything beautifully, that where video games at this point are not just mindless fun and you know, like I said earlier, Minecraft brought in that casual audience. The Last of Us made them stay. Like, The Last of Us and games like Uncharted even were like, here, you can get this kind of experience too. And I've seen so many casual gamers really stick around for games like that. And a lot of games like that followed the mold, you know, Horizon, God of War revitalized itself by following the Last of Us mold. It's just, it was very revolutionary for me in today's times, and it really struck home in today's times for me.
I will have to say I agree with you on that, because that game is one of the reasons why I actually bought a PS3 and like the end of its lifespan. Like,
yeah,
Blaze Blue was Blaze Blue was transitioning from 360 only to Sony. And to play, I think it was not Central Fix, Chrono Phantasma, I needed a PS3. And I was like, all right, I'll buy it, but I was still like a little hesitant on it. But after seeing The Last of Us, I basically, on the first day it came out, I got that PS3 and the game. And I was like, I need to play this right now.
It definitely revolutionized how it told stories.
Yeah. And you, like you said, it made you feel for these characters. I remember, spoiler alert, again, very old game. If you haven't played it, what the hell's wrong with you? Get out there and play it now. when you lose Sarah, Joel's daughter, like at the very beginning, I teared up. I was like, shit, how can you kill off this child so quickly?
Yeah.
And that basically set the precedent of like the whole story, especially when you run into like the two other characters, like the two brothers, like that just like really ripped your heart out, and just like the bond Ellie and Joel had. And then when you find like the revelation that she's going to need to die for there to be an actual cure, you're torn because you want everyone to have a happy ending, but then you also want Joel to have his. So you're like, I honestly felt like the game should have given you like an option at least at the end, where if you either let Ellie go or you go back there, take on the Fireflies, kill everyone, and lie to her basically and take her back. Like I would have
Yeah.
loved that, because that would have torn me up inside to figure out which one I should have done. It's the same thing that should have happened in Spider-Man PS4. Like they should have given you the option if you could either save Aunt May or let her die from Dragon's Breath.
See, I think that, it's not to say that games were never emotional and never made people cry. It's more or less to say how it was presented to you.
Yeah.
If you take a game that came out around the same time, maybe about a year before, another PlayStation exclusive, it was Infamous, right? Infamous was presented very well, but a lot of the time it was like people standing and then like talking. And The Last of Us and games like Uncharted, Naughty Dog in general, really brought in that movie-like feel. That like the concentration on the eyes and the facial movements and how they reacted to things that they were said.
The setting, everything, all of that just mixed together, just really helped
even like
hammer in the home. Like this is what's going on, and this is the gravity of the situation.
The quiet sounds. And like sitting in a quiet room with like Joel and Ellen, he's looking at Ellie and he'll sigh, and there's real people there, and you can feel that. There's real people there. It's not just a video game. And then the music, and it had like those Star Wars fade in and fades out, like Uncharted did, where it was like fold the screen and it would go into the next scene. Powerful stuff.
I want to pose a hypothetical question to you guys in regards to The Last of Us.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think the game would have been as popular as it was if Call of Duty was as prevalent on the PS3 as it was on 360? I feel like that's like one of the main reasons why people on the Sony consoles were starting to play games like Uncharted and The Last of Us, because not only were they available, because 360 obviously had some, but no one really gave a fuck because you could play things like you said, Gears, Halo, and Call of Duty. They were amazing at the time. Like 360 was killing with their online, as to where Sony was kind of lagging behind. So in a hypothetical world, do you think The Last of Us would have became as popular as it did if Sony didn't have like a netcode issue and people were more prone to playing Call of Duty on the console?
So I have the perfect answer for you. My answer is a double-edged sword, right? So it's a yes and a no, basically. But I feel like no matter what, if Call of Duty was fucking popular on the PS3 as it was on Xbox, that is irrelevant, because Call of Duty wouldn't be popular without Halo. And I think that Halo is what revolutionized the multiplayer product before Call of Duty monopolized it. And for me, the issue was that even though Halo was great and loved, and even if Call of Duty was still big on PS3, people still gravitated to Xbox for Halo and for Gears. And Sony wasn't really putting out exclusives like that. You had your Uncharted, you had your Infamous, you had your God of War. Some of them weren't even system sellers, God of War 3 kind of was, but God of War 1 and 2 are on PS2. Those are PS2 games. Yeah. So, like, they had Heavenly Sword. That wasn't selling any fucking systems.
Their launch sales were not the greatest. Yeah, they weren't that strong.
Fucking the Ratchet and Clank PS3 games weren't going to sell any consoles.
The only big thing, in my opinion, was MGS4.
Yeah, MGS4, which also is third person over the shoulder. That goes back to RE4. But even then, the people who bought PS3s to play MGS4 were the same people who had PS2s to play MGS2 and 3. That MGS4 really wasn't opening up a lot of new audiences. So, and bringing in the casual gamer, you know? So I feel like no matter what, people still would have gravitated towards an Xbox. And at the end of the day, The Last of Us still was revolutionary enough in that it, for example, my partner, not a gamer at all, doesn't like, it just doesn't enjoy the learning process. Like a lot of things that she misses and she gets frustrated, and it's very annoying to her a lot of times. The Last of Us was one of the easiest experiences of her life because the game was so easily consumable. The game, a lot of the time, you put your controller down, you watch, you feel, you enjoy, then you're put into a pressure situation that the game very, very beautifully teaches you how to play the game. One of the best tutorials ever in a game. And it just puts you in its world so smoothly. And I think that no other game was doing that casually. So no matter what, like I said, it's a double-edged sword. Double-edged sword.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I just wanted to pose the question, see how you felt about it. But
Was that a sufficient enough answer for you?
Yeah, it was. Because I feel like that's it kind of plays a part into why The Last of Us was so popular. It's not like a major part of it, but it is a factor that people have to consider. Which
is crazy because after The Last of Us came out, right, people realized you can make single player games. And single player games can make money. That's what it was. It was, oh my God, I can make money off of this. Because before The Last of Us, you know, there are some single player games like Alan Wake, which is an Xbox exclusive. Horror, whatever it is. Very good game. They don't sell that well, you know? So but after that, again, like I mentioned before, God of War changed its mold. God of War became a Last of Us style game. Yeah. And became very emotionally storytelling driven.
Yeah.
And then Horizon. And then even Spider-Man and Xbox tried it with like Recore. And shit like that.
And I would say the better example for that would probably be Gears 5.
Yeah, Gears 4 and 5.
They definitely tried it. I don't know, 4 it didn't really capture like that heaviness in 5. Like 5, they were definitely trying to hammer in like we have a single player experience.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks because I thought Gears' story was always like good, but 4 kind of felt lackluster.
But they wanted you to feel emotional.
Well, that was the thing. 4, I didn't feel any emotion. Like the only thing I felt sad was like the death of Anya Stroud. Like a major character just died in the shadows, and we don't know what happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like 5 where you get more context towards everything in the world, where you actually like no one liked JD in number 4 because it was just typically like Nathan Drake. That's all he was. He was like copy and paste Nathan Drake, cheap version. And it wasn't until the 5th game where they actually started to go deeper into the story and actually give him more of like a character sense, like more development, where he's not just like Marcus's disappointing son. It was so much more. And that's where I said like that's where Gears 5 actually strived, where they tried to create more of like a story dynamic for it.
And it's crazy because BioShock Infinite came out around that time, and that game tried to be very emotionally driven.
BioShock was the same year as Last of Us, wasn't it? Wasn't that also?
Yeah, around the same time.
So, you know, the single player shit definitely blew up after The Last of Us. Now we get so many single player games.
I have another hypothetical question for you guys.
Okay. Yeah, keep it going.
Do you think Heavy Rain influenced that streamline of games, like Uncharted and The Last of Us?
I feel like they probably... all right, so my answer is going to be a little out there, but I would say it kind of helped with like storytelling with like those visual novels. Like, you know how you have like some games that are visual novels where you get to choose an interaction, but that's just all text and dialogue. I felt like Heavy Rain was kind of like that, but they kind of gave you more of like options and free will where you could actually move around the environment and actually do a little bit more things. It was basically almost like a new way to revive the point and click puzzle game or mystery.
Heavy Rain had such a big influence. I mean, what's the word I'm looking for?
So I guess to say, right, I think the only thing that came out of Heavy Rain that was maybe you can like say was an influence for The Last of Us. I wouldn't say necessarily Uncharted. I would say more The Last of Us.
I would
But definitely say that The Last of Us is completely different from Uncharted in many ways. But Heavy Rain started the not mocap train, but the mocap of actors train.
Yes. So that's what I was trying to lean towards, the graphical aspect of Heavy Rain.
Yeah. So
I would say
with
that's where
Heavy
it started
Rain,
off.
it did the whole like we can get actual actors in suits and just like have them act as if they're doing a movie, and we can put this in a video game.
I mean,
And
how
Heavy
the
Rain
first
did
trailer
great
was
with
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Heavy
they
Rain
had
did
like a girl
amazing
who's
with that.
basically reading a line, and everyone was wondering what the hell is Heavy Rain.
Yeah.
Like, is
But,
this like
you
a
know,
TV show, movie, what?
So that helps with The Last of Us because, like, again, they did that. Let's put actors in mocap suits and just have them, capture their face. Once you capture emotion and facial actions, it's it's real and it's pure. But The Last of Us 2 in its gameplay was very revolutionary. It was also, again, third person over the shoulder. But having Ellie, right? She didn't feel like an escort mission. There was a lot of escort missions in video games prior that you hated your sidekick.
You knew Ellie could just handle her own right there, and you loved that.
But there was the E3 showcase where Ellie threw the bottle at the guy, like, and caught his attention, and Joel comes in with the hit, and it was just such crazy stuff. And Last of Us also proved that survival horror could work. Because if you played Last of Us on the harder difficulties, you barely had ammo. It was like 2 bullets in each gun for every fight. And it was beautifully done.
It really made you think about how you should handle situations, especially when you're in a room full of clickers and you only have enough to make one shiv. You want to hold on to that shiv just in case they grab you, not to take out one other one on a longer way.
Yep. And even on top of that, I don't want to, if you're going to get upset, I'm going to bring up The Last of Us 2 here. The Last of Us 2 gameplay is so fucking revolutionary. It's so good. The gameplay of Last of Us 2 is amazing. Fuck you.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when you kill someone and they have a dog with them, and that dog actually gets sad and curls up next to the dead body because it wants to be with its owner, you got gold right there.
So, but yeah. So that's my choice.
So before it wasn't my
number one, but yeah.
So before I give my number one and the last one on the list, I want to see, do you guys have like maybe 1 or 2 honorable mentions that you want to bring up?
Give me a second to think about it.
All right, so we'll come back to you. Adria?
I would have said Call of Duty.
Call of Duty?
I definitely would have said Call of Duty. Yeah, Call of Duty definitely for high school times, like late middle school into high school times, really made me bond with my friends on a whole nother level. And I think helped not only bring multiplayer to the forefront and bring first person shooters to the forefront again in gaming, and not only also brought in more audience to video games, but it helped me a lot in socializing. Like, I felt like I socialized a lot when I was playing Call of Duty. Very, very crazy experience. So yeah, definitely honorable mention.
All right. StarWind, you still need more time?
Yeah. Say yours, and I'm still thinking.
So I kind of got like 2 on this one. Honorable mention goes to Guitar Hero, mainly because that thing kind of really helped bring out the boom at the time for music-based video games. Like
Ubisoft.
this was basically the game system where everyone wanted to get the plastic guitar controller. Where hell, there was even bars that were doing Rock Band or Guitar Hero like contests where you would actually have to finish the song or something like that, and whoever did it like best or had the high score, you would get like a free drink or something like that. So it was pretty crazy. And then I'd probably go to honorable mention with BlazBlue and Guilty Gear, because to me they were like the first fighting games that actually had a story mode and kind of helped bring out more of like the world instead of just like having you like read a manual going through like so many things to get like lore information, everything like that. This game actually had like a story mode and kind of like told you what the characters are doing, gave you options and choices on how to interact, and that was like my introduction to story mode being in fighting games. And I
But
kind of
Mortal
feel like
Kombat and Tekken have huge story modes. Like the stories in Mortal Kombat and Tekken are like a huge part of the actual gameplay. Like the lore behind Heihachi and his family, and then like Sub-Zero and Scorpion's whole
yeah, but
thing.
that
Like
was
the
like
fact that
through the
there's like
arcade and everything like that. I'm saying like this actually like this was the first time you actually had story mode. I'm not saying like arcade endings and everything like that. I'm actually saying like an actual story mode. Because arcade endings, they're still part of the story,
but not
but
all of them are canon. Is I
exactly.
see
And
what you're going
Blaze
for.
Blue did something that was very innovative because you finish the arcade story for that like one character, you got to do it for everyone else, and then you would have story mode for that character. Those two actually do coexist, but one of them isn't the actual like timeline you're following. It's actually an alternate one, and that kind of plays into like Blaze Blue's like lore later on.
Overarching theme, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was like very revolutionary and very innovative because I honestly thought like Ragnar just dies at the end. I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna have to find a new character in the second game. But no, you finish everyone's stories, you get like their good ending or their true ending. You actually get the true ending on how this is all supposed to end. And you kind of put the pieces on like who basically helps contribute to starting up like the continuum shift, the central fiction, the Chrono Phantasma, and I loved it. I thought it was great.
I have a question for the Guitar Hero
Sure.
aspect. I don't disagree with you at all, but
hmm
I have a question that kind of like it's broad. I guess it can StarWind can answer it too.
Yeah.
So Guitar Hero started the, like you said, the dance singing trend, right? Like
Yeah.
from Guitar Hero came Rock Band. With Rock Band came like Sing It and Just
Then DJ
Dance.
Hero,
From DJ Hero,
Fuse.
yeah. So like Ubisoft is definitely making guap off of Just Dance alone. I mean, they're releasing it on the Wii still, and
Yeah.
making money off of
Surprisingly
that.
enough, yeah.
Yeah. So would you say that Guitar Hero spawned the props for games idea, which then leads into Skylanders and
Like the
like,
peripheral.
yeah. Would
I
you
would
say that
I would
led
definitely
into
say
that?
yeah. Like there was other like games and such like Rob came with like an NES game. He basically helped play the game like he would press a button down or something like that. It was good, but you didn't really see like a major boom after that. Then you had like arcades where they had like the light guns. Light guns were big, but it was kind of like a niche audience. Like everyone liked them, but you need to have like a certain type of TV or something like that, otherwise the game didn't work properly. With this one, I guess it kind of helped bring out everyone's fantasy of being a rock star. You have a guitar, you don't know how to play it, but it's so easy, anyone can pick up and play it right then and there. And I felt like that basically kicked off like the boom, like you said, where like we get Skylanders, we get like mics for like sing along or something like that, or the Connect where you need to move your body to match your movement towards the dance.
Which goes into
Hell,
amiibos.
yeah, I mean even Amiibos and even DJ Hero, they made a turntable just for that game. And then after that, Rock Band, when they created that game, they actually went out and did more than that. They actually
Drums,
did the drums, and
bass.
then I think they were well. Bass was basically the same thing as the guitar one, which
But you
was
needed two guitars.
yeah, that's true. You needed to, but I felt like the Rock Band one was a little bit more innovative because when you play a guitar, you have different like areas on the neck, like you have different frets. They utilize the two different frets, and then later on, they just kept on reamping it all the way up, where you would have like the whammy bar, and then you would also have touch because you can also play like the guitar without strumming. You also just like touch like the frets on the top. So I felt like that was very innovative as well with it. So I felt like that push like that boom right there at the time for music games. There were music games around, but they weren't in like such high demand until that game came out.
I think it's because Guitar Hero was so much easier to play than some of the other music games at the time. Like DDR, you needed the floor pad and you needed like actual space. You need to know how to
Yeah.
dance.
Yeah.
As to where if Guitar Hero is like you're literally just moving your fingers, you can sit down and play that. So I think it's more of what you said before, like the arcades, like people or rather companies wanted to bring the arcade experience home to people and like offering peripherals because at the time you have people on like PC that have flight sticks, and they have like the gears or the wheels for things like Gran Turismo and other car games like that. So I feel like it was more about the technology expanding at the time, and then Ubisoft or I'm not 100% sure who made Guitar Hero because I'm not really I can't play guitar. So
I
I
believe
never
that's
really tried.
Harmonix. I think they were the creators of it.
Whoever did that, they capitalized on the technology at the time. So I feel like this is another one
Yeah.
of those like Doom Quake or Doom Wolfenstein situations. I feel like it was really DDR that brought the music experience home, and then games like Just Dance are like DDR is too fucking hard, so let's just make it easier and be like Just Dance, where you just have to like mimic movements instead of like having to hit the pad. So yeah, the Guitar Hero just made it super popular. They're the Fortnite of the music scene.
Yeah.
Fun fact: I used to play guitar.
I can see that.
I'm actually learning right now.
I'm thinking about getting back into it.
I just learned World of Chaos.
I used to play
If
Sweet Home
you-
Alabama.
I mean, that kind of
Can you
fits into
sing
your
it?
character
I
right
want
there.
to see you sing it.
I never sang it, no.
Ah.
But I went to actual like lessons.
If you do want to listen to a very depressing song, but sounds very lovely, World of Chaos. Definitely take a look at that.
All right, StarWind, to close us off here.
Oh, yeah, I didn't give my
your
first.
honorable mention. Oh, I thought that was your
Oh,
first.
right, his
Guitar
honorable
Hero.
mention. No, that's not. No, that was my honorable mention.
Oh, I thought that was your first.
No, that was my
Oh,
honorable
no.
mention. I said.
All right, so Star, do you have your honorable mention?
No, let him go. Let him finish his train of thought.
Okay.
No, I want to hear your honorable mention before I give mine.
I still
number
want
one.
time. I'm just
Oh,
trying
Jesus, you can't think of honorable mention.
I just don't want to say something and then like you guys are saying it again. So I'm really trying to think of like other games and other genres that we
Okay.
haven't mentioned. I'm really trying to like expand.
Super Mario
all right.
64.
So I'll just give my number one to make it easier for you. My number one, like I said, is going to be a cop out. Same thing with the Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2. This one is Legend of Zelda for the NES and Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Okay.
Reason why I chose those because at the time games were not really like explorational. Like you basically just had to move from right to left. Like Mega Man, uh what else was there? Mario, and even like some of like the arcade like games, you basically had like racing and such like that. It was just very symptomatic. You just go from point A to point B. But with Legend of Zelda, you're just put into a world and you have to figure out where to go next. Like you have to explore, look around. If you can't get to this one area, then maybe you come back after you find another thing. And it's the same thing with Ocarina of Time as well, but Ocarina of Time was that scale just in 3D. And just having like, that ability where you have night and day changing just from running across Hyrule Field, and then everything changes because you have the Stalfos coming out attacking you, or you get something and you can't really use it because you're a child, and then once you get the Master Sword, you become an adult and then can use the item again, but now you can't use certain aspects. So I felt like those were very revolutionary with how you looked at like problem solving and how to figure out where to go next.
Ocarina of Time is such a good fucking game, but the amount of people that have actually finished it is not as much as people think. Like that game is constantly considered like one of the greatest of all times, but it never really sold as well as people thought it did. Because it's very punishing for the casual player. So I do agree with you that it's innovative, but it was hard to get into that game. And the storytelling in that game is fucking beautiful. Oh my god, the way that it's presented to you, like this little elf boy who's just trying to figure out his way around, like the way that it was presented to you, like you were actually quote unquote Link. And I to this day, like I find it so amazing. Like some of the in-game videos were amazing, and like it's one of those games where actually playing the game looked like one of the cutscenes. Where I feel like it wasn't super popular at the time to have the two look the same, but they made it look fucking amazing. But it's definitely one of the harder games. I feel like there's other games that came out after Ocarina of Time that have done it slightly better just because it's more accessible. A lot of the games that we're talking about, I feel like they blew up because so many people were able to enjoy them and play them. As to where Ocarina of Time, like a lot of people get stuck at the water temple. Like that's usually like the end for a lot of people's playthroughs. So I don't know how I feel about Ocarina of Time being on the
I
list.
have a question.
Well, I was gonna point out, Ocarina of Time sold 2 million copies within the first 39 days when it was released back in 1998, and overall in its lifespan, not including the, oh no, this is including ports and re-releases, sold 7.6 million copies.
And
So
that's less than like just Animal Crossing New Horizons by itself. That's what I'm saying. Like it's an amazing game,
yeah,
but it didn't sell the way the Nintendo wanted it to. And I feel like that's
well, at
why
the time back then, 2 million is pretty big. That's what I'm like pointing out right there. But going back to you saying like it was easy, no, it was hard. A lot of people
I
believe
said it was
this.
hard. I didn't say it was easy.
No, that's what I'm saying. You're saying it was hard. I'm saying other people thought it was easy because this is where people said like this is game is like the one where like really handheld you, and this is what kind of introduced like the modern Zelda as people call it, where instead of you just wandering around the world, you have to go first to Zelda, then she'll tell you to go to Death Mountain, then after Death Mountain they'll tell you to go to like Hylia. Like it wasn't like, oh, I got this item, where do I go next? They basically point you to the next direction.
But the other games do
And
that as well before this.
not really. Like a lot of the stuff like you kind of had to like figure out on your own, especially in Link to a Past. Like everyone says that's like the best one. And I would honestly say like the harder one out of all of them would probably be the original Legend of Zelda. Just because you really need to like kind of pay attention and look for everything, or like find up a guide to get 100% in that game to figure out where you need to go next. But
The first Legend of Zelda, you are correct. It doesn't really tell you what to do, but Link to the Past and what's the other one? Link's Awakening, they definitely tell you what to, like every single time you hit like a certain point, the NPCs they were like, oh, like blah blah blah, like you have to go this way. Like it's usually like babyish text, like they handheld you to the point where it's just like you have to
they
go
gave you like the
left,
text of
you
it.
have to go
like
right, like that.
they give you a
Which is
text,
the
but you
same
can
thing that
still
happens in
go in
Ocarina
like a
of Time.
different direction from where they're like sending you right there.
You do the same thing in Ocarina of Time.
No, the Ocarina of Time, they really handhold you. You can't go to like Hylia unless you finish Death Mountain. Like if you're playing,
it's the same thing in the other ones because like there'll be
no,
like
like
a
the other one,
tree
they'll
that you
tell
can't
you.
like
No,
cut
they'll tell
down.
you where you can go, but you can't do you. Uh, Let me backtrack. In Link to the Past, they'll tell you like, oh, here's like this and that, but they would like tell you to go, oh, go to get like this crest or something like that. You don't need to go and get that crest right now. You can go somewhere else completely different. If you
But
wander
you
around
wouldn't
and
be
you wander,
progressing the story. Like a lot of them are like locked.
no, you still progress the story through it because later on you are gonna have to come, but you basically can go in the any order you want. That's what come a lot of fans were happy with Link Between Worlds. You weren't handheld. You were basically told like, here's where you need to go, figure out yourself, and you basically can choose which areas you want to tackle first or next or last. Like you don't need to like be like, oh, I need to go to this area. It's like, oh, I found this area. Let me wander into here. Ocarina of Time, you're basically bound to this area. You can leave it, but you can't go any further into like a next area or anything like that. That's what a lot of people were calling it as the modern day Zelda, because that's what they were like keeping up with, like that trend and pace. The only
It's the
time
modern day Zelda because it's the first 3D Zelda, and it paved the way for things like
it's the first 3D Zelda, but also it's like their way of like hand holding people, like basically guiding them through the whole game. People said they didn't feel like this until Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild, where it felt like they kind of let loose on the rings and gave you the true
Skyward
exploration.
Sword is constantly considered one of the easiest Zelda games ever. Like that game it's literally for children. Like there's no way that you can say that it's even if it is free roaming, there's no way that the game doesn't hold your hand, especially with Fee popping out every 9 seconds. He'd be like, hey, you have to go this way. Hey, you have to go this way. Hey, this item's for this. Like that game holds your hand the entire way. Even if it is free roaming, they hold your hand the entire experience. There's no way that you could. And then even if you try and compare it to Ocarina of Time, once you hit a dungeon, there's no hand holding there. So like that's what I'm trying to say. Like even if the game was like, you have to go into this direction, once you got to that direction, you have to figure shit out for yourself. When you went inside the what the fuck is this guy's name?
Yeah, but that's the thing where if you hit that wall, you can't go anywhere else. Where the other ones, if you hit that wall, you could just be like, all right, I'm just gonna come back later when I want to feel like doing it, and you can
So
just
it's
move on to
rewarding you
somewhere
for
else.
not learning the game.
I wouldn't say it's not rewarding you for not learning the game. It's just you get to go and choose and do what you want, and basically not have anyone
It's a
basically.
puzzle game where you can ignore the puzzles and be like, nah, I'm just not gonna do you. That's what you're telling me. But the
No, I'm
dungeons in
saying it's not
Ocarina
like
of Time are some
linear.
of the
I'm saying it's
hardest
not
ones.
linear.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll give you that. It's Ocarina of Time is
It's
linear.
awkward. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what they refer to as the modern era because it's just a very linear line where Zelda was always based on exploration, and you didn't have to do things in a certain order. You just did them when you want, and that's why a lot of people were like bashing Ocarina of Time. Where it's like, oh, this is the start of the modern era. It's like, who gives a shit? It
And yet
was
it's probably
revolutionary
one of
back
the
at the
best Zelda,
time.
if not the best Zelda.
Yeah, it's revolutionary for its time. It was so popular they actually remade it for the 3DS, and rumor has it that it might be getting ported to the Switch for Zelda's 30th, which I don't really think is going to be the case. I feel like we were just getting Skyward Sword out of it.
Why wouldn't they? Well, but yeah, what was your question?
I had a question actually, which is a little bit of a hot take, I guess, between you guys, because you guys seem like you really love Zelda. But my question is there Ocarina of Time without Super Mario 64?
Ocarina of Time without Super Mario 64?
No.
Yes.
I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm not even gonna.
You don't want to get into the conversation on that?
No, because we're really running out of time. But I disagree with the zero.
All I'm going to say is Ocarina of Time was also in development around the same time as Super Mario, where they bounced around a lot of different ideas and such. So I feel like if Super Mario wasn't around, we still have gotten a 3D Zelda game. The only thing I
But
feel like we would probably never have gotten a 3D thing of for the N64 was probably Metroid.
Do you have your
Metroid
honorable?
3D was on GameCube, no?
Later on, they couldn't implement, like, they didn't know how to implement Metroid Prime. Like, they didn't know how to make a 3D game for Metroid.
But Ocarina of Time is built on the Mario 64 engine. They just
Yeah.
polished it up. So there would literally be no Zelda without the Mario game.
They were
the Mario
in
game
development
needed
at
to
the
be
same
made.
time. No,
Well,
like I said, they were in development at the same time. So if one didn't finish, they would have just continued on. But since Super Mario was like the base for it, they basically were like, all right, let's transfer everything over towards this because it'll be a lot smoother of a transition.
So
But
going
going
back
back
to AJ's
to,
question, if Super Mario 64 didn't exist, there would be no base for Ocarina of Time. The
I wouldn't say
game
there would
would
be,
not
I would say
exist the
there's
way that
no
it does.
engine at the time. They'll probably have an engine, but they would have definitely been Zelda 60, like Zelda 64,
But it
a
wouldn't have
3D
been
Zelda
Ocarina
game.
of Time.
It would have, I think it would have been something. I wouldn't say it would be Ocarina of Time exactly, but it would have definitely been a 3D Zelda game. Because I'm not sure like what type of engine or what they were going to go for on this one. Because back then they were also saying that they were thinking of doing Ocarina of Time like Super Mario, where you go into paintings and go into like different levels and everything like that. It's not Ocarina of Time, but it's still a 3D game.
Yeah, and that's seen in the Phantom Ganon boss battle.
Yeah, that was like
That's
a reference towards it right there.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like the game literally needed for Mario to be completed, to be done, for them to see what works with that game, how people reacted to it, and then they polished it up and then made Ocarina of Time so much better.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if they didn't do that, do you feel like they would still been a 3D Zelda game? Not granted if it was
Down
going
the
to be good or
line,
bad.
but Super
Yeah,
Mario
it could have been
64
this-
invented the 3D game
Yes.
genre. Like, if there was no Super Mario 64, there's no Banjo, there's no Donkey Kong 64, there's no Sonic Adventure, there's none of that. Like, all of that is gone. You know,
I mean, I still think there was going to be 3D no matter what because
But
that was
you
like the
just
next
said-
step.
You just said that they were attempting to do the same thing for Metroid and they couldn't do it. And then if you look at
Because they didn't know
other-
how to go about it. It wasn't because they didn't have the engine or anything like that. They just
But
didn't know
I
how to
feel
go about
like-
it. That's like
I
a
feel like-
separate thing.
I feel like saying, oh, eventually they will be 3D graphics, right? I feel like
Yeah, and then that would be the next step right there.
but I feel like that's obvious.
Yeah, and
right?
that would be the next evolution of
Like,
it. That's,
but
I mean, the
obviously
same thing
there
that
will
happened
be
with
3D
Sonic.
graphics.
Sonic was going to go 3D before Mario.
multiple
Yeah,
times, and it
but-
failed.
It failed because of the hardware limitations, and it
Yes.
failed because they didn't know how to do it. I think that, it's like saying obviously eventually video games will look movie like The Last of Us. That's a given.
But someone has to
The
do it
point
first.
is that who's doing it, who started the trend, and who said, look, this shit works. And other people are then like, hold the phone, I gotta do this now.
Just
you
like
know?
there's no Breath of the Wild without Elder Scrolls. There's no Elder Scrolls without GTA. You can't say that eventually there would have been a Breath of the Wild-esque game for Zelda if
Well,
Elder
there's
Scrolls
no-
never came out.
There's no Elder Scrolls without Fallout, and there's no Fallout without GTA.
I mean, no
Yes.
matter what, you can always look at it like that. Like, without these games, XYZ. Honestly, the world kind of does lack a little bit of like creativity. Like, a lot of things are constantly being created or stuff like that, or
But life
someone
is
has the same
derivative.
idea. Yeah,
Everything
that's
is derivative of something.
Yeah, so basically, no matter what, we would have gotten a 3D Zelda, even if
But
it
it
didn't
wouldn't
do
have been
well.
Ocarina of Time.
It wouldn't have been Ocarina of Time, but it would still have been a
We would have
3D
gotten
Zelda
like
game.
Legend of Zelda Extreme.
Yeah, but we,
Like
like
some nonsense.
I'm saying we
Would've got-
wouldn't have had a 3D Zelda game. That's what I'm saying. It wouldn't have been Ocarina of Time, but we would have still gotten something eventually. Whether or not it's Ocarina of Time or something completely different, good or bad, I'm just saying we would have still gotten it.
But that's also like just to finalize, I guess, to end this. Oh, do you have your honorable mention, by the way?
No, I'm thinking too much about Zelda. That's all in my head right now.
All
That's
right.
all I
So,
can think of.
but to say okay, eventually, right? Imagine reading comic books in like the 90s and saying like, eventually, my favorite comic book hero is gonna be on the big screen, and we're gonna get a big fucking movie, right? And obviously, eventually, that's gonna happen. But the point is like, okay, the X-Men movies came out. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Especially Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is a big
Sam
influence.
Raimi's Spider-Man is what started like the whole Marvel thing right there, I would say.
So like eventually, obviously, comic book movies would have come out, but there's no comic book movies being successful without Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
There's
like,
no
that's
MCU
the argument we're
without
making.
Iron Man.
But okay, so let me take this
Yeah.
away. What happens if we didn't get Spider-Man at that time? What happens instead we got X-Men first? Can you say the same thing? Wow,
We did get
X-Men.
X-Men first.
No, I thought Spider-Man came out first.
No, X-Men came out in 2000. And Spider-Man came out in 2002.
Oh yeah, because of the 9/11 thing.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. All right, so basically, my point is, let's say you don't have those movies right there. You have something else that comes around. No matter what, there's going to be something that's going to be like, this was the thing that kicked down the door for everyone right here. So I'm saying, if it wasn't Mario, it would have been Zelda. If it wasn't Zelda, it would have been Metroid. If it wasn't Metroid, it would have been F-Zero GX or wherever the hell it was for the Nintendo 64.
Going
You
by
can
that
s-
logic, you don't need to exist because there would be someone later on down the line that's just like you. You in yourself are unique. You need to exist for there to be other things like you, for things to be derivative of you. Your own existence is unique. Mario 64, its existence is unique, and because of that, other things can be derivative of it. It needs to exist. Without it, there is no things that follow it. It's cause and effect, my guy. It needs to have existed. You can't say that things could be that way if that thing wasn't there. If I was to take away your mother, there's no proof that you would still exist later on down the line. Like if your father would just spawn another zero. There needs to
That's
be
the thing,
things
you
that
will
fall
never
in line
know.
perfectly.
But it will probably happen eventually.
No,
You could have
everything
been a girl.
exactly. Everything is like a 1 in a million shot. That's all life is. It's just ridiculous miracles happening on such a small scale that it doesn't seem like a miracle to you, but that's exactly what it is. Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time would have never existed if there was no 3D Mario 64. And considering the fact that if I'm not mistaken, they had the exact same director. If Miyamoto was working on both games, was he not? So he took what he learned from 64 and then applied it and made it so much better. Because Mario 64 compared to Ocarina of Time, they don't look like they're the same engine, but they're the exact same game. And he just polished it up. He took what he learned from one game and made it so much better. There's no Ocarina of Time without 64, bro. There's no way you can say that. He needed to do one thing, so that he could learn and make this other thing.
All right, I didn't think we were gonna get that type of life debate out of fucking the top 5 lists of.
I can honestly go back and forth on this, but I'm just gonna say okay for
but
the sake of the timeline on this, like the
but yes,
timeline.
to fact check you, Miyamoto did make both games.
Yeah,
He made both, but I don't think he directed both.
We're
He was
gonna
a part
close
of
it
the
out
team.
there.
He was like a
Wow.
producer or something like that.
We're gonna close it out there because that's an hour and 50 minutes.
One of our longer
So,
episodes.
Yeah, just give us an outro there, Zero.
All right, so yeah, there you have it. Again, click the subscribe button at the bottom. Turn on the bell for notifications. Again, reminder that E3 is going to be happening on the 7th. So be sure to check us out. We'll be trying to do our best for covering everything. Put down in the comments below what are your definitive fives. What are you looking forward to on E3? We want to know, is there like an event that we don't know about or you would like us to cover? Please drop it in the comments or post it up on Twitter at Metaverse of G at Twitter, or you can tweet at the Residents of Raccoon. What's your Twitter handle again?
At Resident of R.
Resident of R. Tweet them out towards there. And yeah, just let's hopefully we get
Join our
something good out
Discord
of it.
channel.
Oh, and our Discord channel as well. Link towards that will be at the bottom below. So if you want anything, like you want to get in touch with us, definitely hit us up on there as well. And yeah, let's hope we get a good E3. Everything is great, and we're excited about something new. So I'm Zero. This has been Let's Go Around, and we will see you all next time.
Peace out,
Yeah,
y'all.
yeah.